want to welcome you all into episode 26 of Trojan Talk. We have Jeff Cushberry back from Paris and Cole here. How you guys doing this morning?
Great.
Jet lagged,
yeah.
I was up at 4 a.m. today.
We'll start by talking about some TA sports. The boys and girls lacrosse teams, as well as the baseball teams, finish off their season. Boys lacrosse ends 11-1. Girls lacrosse finish 8-4, which surprisingly was on a 7-game win streak. Big game. We did a win over, I believe, Falmouth, was it? That was a big one. And then baseball finished 15-1. So 3 good finishes for the teams. Look at the playoffs. I think the boys are in second in the South, and then the girls are in fourth for lacrosse, and the baseball I think they're the number 1 seed. I'm not sure, but they should have some good playoff games. So my question for you guys is: if you had to pick one team to win a state championship, who do you think has the best chance this year?
I'm going to say baseball. Certainly, if you look at softball and girls lacrosse, they definitely have a tougher run. And I'll throw in boys tennis as well. Boys tennis, the top player's gone now.
Yep.
International student back, and they're going to be losing another one of their top players. And Cole can talk about more about it before the states, at least before the regional final. So I think boys lacrosse certainly has a chance for sure. Those two teams, but baseball, you look at it, they've just been so dominant with their pitching, and they have such a good 1-2 combination that. We said before, and I talked to Cody Bowker recently when we did the signing ceremony. He mentioned that it's just been kind of a fact that this team has had many good years, maybe not even as good as this, but pretty good years, and kind of choked or not choked, but underachieved, I guess we say, in the playoffs. This one seems just a little bit different. They're just so dominant. They're winning almost every game by mercy rule. It's been a year of pitching, as we've talked about. There've been so many no-hitters. Mm-hmm. We had a perfect game, a 6-inning perfect game, and then there's just another one by Kenny Bunk like 2 days ago. And there was a story in the paper about it, like 12 or 13 no-hitters this year in Maine, which is kind of crazy. Yep. So pitching's been the dominant force. When you have the 2 of the best pitchers, you're pretty good. I just don't see. But barring a really bad day pitching-wise, I don't see many teams that are going to stand in their way. Whereas, with boys across, you have Cape. That could any day it could beat TA probably by 5 or 10 goals. Like, not likely, but possible. Just like TA could beat them by 5 or 10 goals. So the other 2 teams, girls across is finishing crazy strong. Yep. No, Falmouth was without a couple of their better players for that game, and I know someone got hurt as well during it. But finishing 4-5, I mean, that's kind of going to be an interesting thing for them. So it's one of those things where. If they finish 4, they get a bye in the first round and they host a second-round game. If they finish 5, they host a prelim game. But if you finish 4 or 5, you play the 1 seed after that.
It does,
so
yeah.
It's one of those things, like, would you almost rather be 6? You still host a prelim game, and then instead of playing, you end up playing, like, the 3 seed, I guess. So interesting how that all works out. I'm sure you're going to try to win every game, obviously. But good for them recovery, considering how poor their season was going. But, yeah, I would say baseball number 1, boys lacrosse number 2, boys tennis number 3, and after that, all the other teams still have a shot.
Yep.
Well, we've been saying this whole time that it's baseball number 1, and it's going to come down to pitching. If they can't pitch Cody Bowker in a big game, they might be done for. That's just the fact. Sometimes they struggle when he's not on the mound, and they have a good number 2, Josh Kopetsky. I think Brady Graffin pitches as well. So they have some guys that can step up, but if they get into trouble, and working the pitch count is just huge in baseball, if they have to go deep into their rotation, it could be trouble. That's why we see a lot of upsets in baseball over the years, especially with TA. And with girls lacrosse, first off, they didn't come into the season expecting to be like a 10-win team, top seed, but they played very well. 8-4 is really good. And especially the way that they finished off the season, they're just they have like a funnel offense. It's Grace Farino and Morgan Bulldog, and nobody else really does a whole lot of scoring, but it's been working for them all season. We've seen those 2 put up some big numbers this year, and if they can keep it rolling in the playoffs, I think they can beat a lot of teams and upset teams. Would have been interesting to see what would have happened in the Falmouth game if their best player had played, but I still have faith in this team moving a couple rounds into the playoffs. And then boys lacrosse, this is a team that's been through a lot this season, a lot of big overtime games, and I think they're well equipped to make a state championship run. I think they're the biggest, I don't know if you call them dark horse, because they're a contender, but I could legitimately see them beating anybody in the state with how well they've played, especially down the stretch when the pressure's on.
Yeah. So it does look like, I was just looking at the heels, it looks like Thornton Academy is going to finish, in girls lacrosse, will finish 4th.
Okay.
So they almost finished 3rd, actually. They were pretty close.
Who's 1, 2, and 3?
So you have Kenny Bunk 1, 12-0, Massabesic 2, 11-1. Then you have Marshwood and TA both 8-4. Thornton Academy will play, I don't exactly know the matchup, probably like the 7-8 game maybe. No, the next round they'll just play. I'll have to figure it out. I don't know because the prelims they'll play the 5 seed. They'll play Cape if Cape beats, they'll be playing Bonnie Eagle.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be TA Cape next week, first round.
That's a hard 1, 2, 3 because those are 3 of their 4 losses in the season. What's the Kennebuck? Massapequa,
Certainly they'll be favored to beat Cape or whoever else, but then after that it's definitely going to be a tough road because they'll have the 1 home game, but Boys Lacrosse will have, I think, 3. Because I think the regional final is a neutral site.
Yep.
And we'll talk about our TATV schedule because there's a lot of games coming up potentially.
Yeah, I put this in there. I'm not sure. I don't really know what the schedule would be like. Do you know when those games start?
So, yes, I do have a calendar, actually. I was trying to figure out the end of the year because we have a lot of, obviously, other live stream schedules.
Yeah.
So, basically, we have Girls Lacrosse. Again, this is all according to the NPA website. That'll be on Monday the 6th will be there. That actually is not going to be a game because that would be the prelim game, so they get a bye on that one.
All right.
And so that will be on, I think it's on Thursday. So Thursday is going to be Boys Lacrosse, definitely, because they're going to be hosting. I think Wednesday, actually, the 8th, will be when Girls Lacrosse is.
Okay.
And then Saturday the 11th, mark your calendars, all your sports fans, because I think all of our teams are going to be playing because that's a huge playoff day. As long as they all win their first round. Yep. Baseball, softball. I think softball will have a matchup somewhere next week. So next week's really the big week.
Yep.
Pretty much every day there's maybe one team playing, including tennis is thrown in there as well. So the states are all on the 18th for the major, the bigger sports like baseball and lacrosse. So, but definitely, like boys tennis is going to play on the 7th next week. I think in the regional final if they continue. They play today.
Yep.
Girls tennis plays at 4. Boys tennis at 2:00. So they get to play before school ends, and that's going to be should be a pretty easy win for them.
Yep.
Despite their losing their number 1 singles player. Girls Lacrosse is playing Wyndham, and I talked to some of the girls last night. And Wyndham's a tough team. I think Wyndham beat TA the last time they played. It's a 4-5 matchup, and so it's going to be a tough one here. So if you're around the campus at 4:00 today, come over and take a look. And maybe Cole can enlighten us a little bit on the boys tennis situation. Happens every year, Cole. Like it's one of those feast or famine things. We have a lot of international students who participate in boys and girls tennis specifically. And when you get to this time of year, those kids start leaving, especially now with COVID. Some of these players or students are coming from countries with massive COVID wait times and quarantines. And, in China, I know it's like 25 to 30 days that you have to, before you can actually go home. So at some point they have to leave early, and it's really unfortunate. Great to have those players, and obviously this year they really benefited from it. But what have you guys talked about? I mean, obviously you knew this was coming for a few weeks. You've lost Terry Ma, the first guy, and Eduardo's going to be gone probably before the regional final. But what's been the talk around the team about replacing those guys?
Well, we just have to be glad that we went undefeated in the regular season and got an SMA championship. I think that's important to recognize. And, I mean, we knew this was coming, and we're going to have to step up like our coaches have been saying all year. It'll definitely be tough because we're losing some very good players, but you got to understand, I mean, they have to quarantine for a long time back in their home country, so you can't blame them at all.
Yeah.
But we'll see how far we can go. We're just going to play. We don't have any real expectations. We're just going to play and do our best to win, and that's really all I can say.
Is there a chance we'll see Cole Purvis at first singles at some point in the tournament?
I don't know about first singles.
If it has, we're doing a live stream. If we do that, I guarantee we're doing a live
going
stream.
up against the best player in the state would not be.
But you can be a sacrificial lamb, and move everyone down. I'm surprised that none of that nefarious stuff happens in tennis. Like, we'll throw in maybe not our best guy against their best guy, and then we'll have a chance to win the second matchup.
I'll probably have to play doubles of some sort, though.
Yeah, that'd be cool to watch.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for the talk about the TA sports. We will try to do as many of those playoff games as we can. I know, as you said.
Just keep an eye on the TA Twitter, the TA Athletics Twitter, Facebook, because it's all moving parts, and we have some conflicts with other events going on campus too. So
it's like baccalaureate, and graduation. And
next week we have TAM's graduation, like other live streams that we're doing as well. So it's going to be a fun ride. I mean, I can't remember a spring sports season in many years that we have like 3 teams that legit could win a state championship. So hopefully one of these goes deep, and I'm praying for that baseball team to at least to make it to a state championship game.
I know.
It's been
in that signing interview, you could see like Cody Balker was talking about how like they've just fallen short so many times, like how bad they really want it this year.
They can do it. They have the horses this year.
Yeah. All right, we're going to start, and this is basically what our whole episode is going to be about, which is the Celtics and the Warriors. NBA Finals, first games tonight. We're looking at the last 2 series. Warriors winning 5, and then Celtics get forced to Game 7. They had a nice Game 7 win, and Jimmy Butler missed a wide open. I mean, he had walked up to a 3 and just tanked that shot. But I want to get your guys' early thoughts. I know, we could say, we are going to win in 5 games, but I want you to really go in depth, just talk about who you think is going to win and why you think they'll win over the other team.
So I didn't see Game 6 or 7 of the other series because I was in Paris, as you said, and it was 6 hours ahead. And the game started at 2:45 in the morning, so that just wasn't happening.
Yep.
So it's tough because really, when you look at the series, how do you handicap it? Do you handicap it of if both teams play their best, what will happen? Or I don't do that because that never happens.
Yeah.
So I have to say, what is the most likely scenario? The most likely scenario is the Celtics, I think, are as good as the Warriors, but I think the Warriors are going to win the series. And I think the biggest reason is, again, you have to look at the last series that the Celtics played. I threw out the Brooklyn series. Again, we were talking before, it's like when you look at it on paper before the playoffs, you're like, wow, they went through the Nets, they went through Durant, they went through Giannis, they went through the Heat. It's like, wow, what a great run. But boy, these two teams, the two teams that they beat the last 2 rounds, with the Bucks, was Middleton being out definitely hurt them, and the Bucks couldn't do anything, and the Heat just can't shoot. They can't shoot. Butler's a great player, like Butler, and he definitely wasn't right for some of those middle games, which definitely hurt the Heat. But
he put up what, 46?
Yeah, the last 2 games he
yeah,
put up like 80 points.
6. Yeah.
But like you just watch some of those games, and I looked at the stats, and it was like 5 for 40 from 3-point land. I mean, you had what's Struce guy who went like 0 for 13 in 2 games in a row. So the thing is with the Celtics is they're so talented. Like they should have won both of those series in probably 5 or 6 games. Like if they played well. And against the Warriors, you can't have an off game and just assume that you're just going to win the next one. The Celtics haven't lost back-to-back playoff games in the playoffs. I could easily see them going down 2-0 here against the Warriors. I mean, certainly if the Celtics play well and they have a couple of their role players play well, which happens in some games, Jason Tatum cannot take games off like he has in the 2 previous series.
Yep.
You can't, and the problem is the Warriors are just not. They're such a good shooting team that every night they can go out and hit 15 to 23 pointers if they shoot enough. So I think there's just going to be too many times where the Celtics are just still a little too immature in how to manage the game, take some bad shots, and that's where they're going to get hurt. I think they still win a couple games, but the Warriors, I mean, they're just playing so well right now, and I think the Celtics are a year away.
I hope you would pick the Celtics because you've been skeptical about the Celtics, and they've made this run, so I wanted you to pick the Celtics. But in general, it's a very evenly matched series, incredibly evenly matched, probably the most of the last maybe like 10 years. Seriously, it's that evenly matched. And I think the series might start off with blowouts on either side. I think the Warriors might win by 20 plus, and then the same with the Celtics. But the main gist of my argument is that Boston hasn't faced an offense like that, kind of like what you were saying. First round, Kevin Durant, you play Kevin Durant. Kyrie had a couple good halves in that series, but then other than that, it was a bunch of untrustworthy guys, not a well-coached team. And then the Bucks, they were missing Chris Middleton. So it's basically you're going to let Giannis get his 35-plus points, and then you're going to hope that their other guys, Drew Holiday and company, can hit shots. And with the Heat, obviously, it's Jimmy, and then they have nobody around him. But with the Warriors, you can't lock up Steph because you have Wiggins, who's been playing so well, and you have Klay Thompson, who hasn't lost it, and you have Draymond Green, who's a great facilitator and passer on offense, and you have Jordan Poole, who's been incredible at points in this postseason. They haven't faced an offense of this caliber, and I think that the Warriors are going to be too much for them. Smart on Curry is going to be an interesting matchup, but I think people are just assuming that Smart is going to lock Curry down. Curry's one of the best off-ball movers in the history of the NBA, so I think they can get him off of screens and get him onto a better matchup. I know the Celtics have depth, like Derek White will probably guard Curry at some points in the series, and that might be tough for him. But Curry's been pass first most of this postseason because the Mavs threw multiple defenders on him a lot of times, and he's been happy to dish it down. I think my bold prediction is that Curry's going to average double-digit assists this series, but might not score as much as we anticipate him to. But it's going to come down to the turnover battle. I think whoever wins the turnover battle is probably going to be NBA champions. Both of these teams have struggled with it, and both of these teams need to get it together. But with all that said, Warriors in 6. It'll probably be 7, but I'm going with 6.
That sounds like something a Warriors fan would say.
I don't know. The only reason I don't know about Warriors. Wait. What is the format? Is it 2-3-2 or they?
Yeah, Warriors get 2, Celtics get 2, and then you go back to San Francisco.
Oh, so it's 2-2-1-1-1.
Yeah, they haven't done
these two 2-3-2.
Yeah, that was in the early late.
So
90s
that's tough.
that.
I mean, I think here's my key player for each team. Key player for the Celtics is Robert Williams. I mean, that's the one kind of advantage I see. I mean, Draymond Green's great, but I mean, Robert Williams has shown himself to be a changer, game changer.
He's got to stay healthy.
I know that's the thing. That's really what it comes down to. There are games where he scores 2 points and he's off the floor. If he's not playing well, and they have to go small with Grant Williams and Al Horford, I think that they could struggle. So I think if Rob Williams plays well, then the Celtics have a really good chance. So the other side, I think, besides the star players playing well, it's about oh my gosh, I just lost his name. Klay Thompson. Yes, exactly. Steph's going to get his, and Wiggins is playing well, but I think Klay Thompson's going to be the X factor in the series. I think he could be a series MVP. I know that's
my pick.
That's a dark horse because I could see him
crazy.
I mean, he's been saving. I don't saving it up, but like he's just such a great player, and he still does. I mean, we mentioned before he doesn't look 100% back to obviously where he was after such a long layoff. But boy, he's going to be the one that. He's going to be the guy that was on the Heat and the Bucks that couldn't make that shot. Like he's going to be the Strus. I mean, he's better than Strus, obviously, and he's better than Drew Holiday and Connaughton. But that's the kind of guy. It's like that guy who the Celtics are going to have to leave open at some point. And if he's hitting threes, he has a couple of games where he hits 6 or 7 threes. Celtics are in big trouble. So that's the key. And if he doesn't play well, the Warriors can still win, but they're going to have a lot bigger struggle.
And this is going to sound crazy to say, but I don't think watching Klay Thompson, he hasn't lost much, especially shooting the ball.
No, he has.
He hasn't lost much as a shooter, and he can still defend very well. And he, over the years, has always played best in pressure situations. Curry sometimes takes a night off in the finals, especially like Game 7 2016. That was not exactly Curry's best performance. But Klay Thompson steps up in these big moments, and I think he could have multiple vintage games. It's not going to be like he averages 28 points and is consistent throughout the series, but he might have a big game, on the road. Game 4, Game 6, he might have a couple of these vintage games that propels him to be the Finals MVP, and that's my pick because he can still shoot the lights out.
A lot of shaking head over here. You're going to be like, you got to believe Celtics at 4. Right.
So I will start off my unbiased talk by saying it will come down to can Curry and Thompson shoot the ball, because interior defense and rebounding and scoring, it's not even close. I don't think Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins are anywhere close to Horford and Williams. You've seen how Horford's played defense on Giannis. You've seen how he played on Adebayo. I know you're a big Draymond fan, and I will give it to you. He's still a good player, but I don't think that they can do anything interior this series. And I know that if Curry goes out and scores 30 and Thompson scores 30, what are we going to do, right? There's nothing the Celtics going to do. But I don't, dude. You guys are such haters in the Celtics.
Haters.
The Warriors are really not that good. Like this is not 73-9 where I'm like, oh my God, what are the Celtics gonna do?
Okay, but it's kind of important to that. Are the Warriors the best team that they played in the playoffs? Are the Warriors better than Milwaukee as they were constituted and the Heat? Because those teams took the Celtics to 7 games when they really shouldn't have.
Yes.
They had no business going to 7 games in both those series because the Celtics decided a few nights just to turn the ball over. Like Jaylen Brown's like the biggest Jekyll and Hyde I've seen. Some nights he can't dribble, and other nights he's shooting the lights out. So if they're the best team, okay. So I will agree. None of us are saying that the Warriors, it's a huge mismatch. It's going to be a sweep, but I mean they're easily the best team that not only the best team on paper, but playing the best right now than they played. And if the Celtics look, I'm not saying they have no chance. I mean, I think this is going to be a 6 or 7 game series. I think the Warriors win it in 6 or 7 games. But there's no reason the Celtics, especially the last series should have lost in Game 6. I don't care about Jimmy Butler scoring 40 points. You do not lose Game 6 on your home floor. Yeah. If you're really a championship team.
It broke down the last few minutes. It was close.
But that happens. But then they have other games where they like Game 7. I didn't see any of it, but they led the entire game. Yeah. It's crazy.
I won't deny the Warriors are a good team. You're right. I'm not going to say that it's not going to be a close series. I just think that the Celtics are a lot better than people are saying, and I think Warriors take Game 1. Because they're at home, and like what are the Celtics going to do?
Yeah, they're undefeated at home, so really you only need, if you keep doing that, you really only need 1 game on the road and you're all set.
Yeah, I mean, but
the Warriors won't because they have home court advantage. So
home court advantage is a lot different than it is in other sports. Like in the NHL, you can, when you're at home, you have the lineup advantage. You can set what lineups you have and with line changes too. So it's a lot easier.
Home court hasn't mattered to the Celtics in the last 2 series.
It hasn't.
Well, I mean, then again, the Heat don't have a home court advantage, so it doesn't matter.
It got better. That series, they got a lot of people going. But
did you see the ticket prices for tonight's game? The cheapest ticket's like $600, in the nosebleed seats, and for the Celtics game, the cheapest one's like $1,000.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk a little more Celtics here. So I was thinking about this today. I know the Celtics were, I don't know, 19-20 was their record, like a couple weeks or a few weeks into the season. Turned it around to get second in the Eastern Conference, and now are in the finals. You know, there are some seasons in other sports that have been spectacular. 73-9 Warriors. You know, you look at the St. Louis Blues when they won the Cup. They had the worst record in the league at midseason, and they ended up winning a Cup. Do you think that this is a record book season for the Celtics, or was it just like we turned it around from a 500 team to a good team?
No, I wouldn't say it's a record book season. I mean, because they had the talent. It wasn't like a worst to first situation. Like, you look at like the 2013 Red Sox. Like, that team had no business winning World Series.
Yep.
Like, the team was not good the year after Bobby Valentine. And just kind of caught lightning in the bottle by getting in. So no, I don't think I think that's the thing. When I'm talking about these Eastern Conference teams, I mean, they're gonna look back and say, "Well, you went through Giannis, you went through Jimmy Butler, you went through these other guys." But the Eastern Conference, I mean, I really would have liked to see the Celtics play the 76ers. I think that would have been a really good series. And I think it's too bad if Embiid doesn't get hurt. I think the Sixers beat the Heat in that series. Would have been a really cool Eastern Conference final. But is it? No, I think if they win, it's a championship. It's nothing historic. I mean, this Celtics team is not a historically great team. They have a lot of role players they take turns stepping up. Grant Williams have 20 points in the game, and then Al Horford have a big one, and then the next game they have no points pretty much. So is it very? It's shocking the way that they turned it around since January when they were the 11th seed. So all credit to them when they win a championship. It's going to be one of the unbelievable championships in terms of where we were mid-season. But if you went before the season and said of the Celtics a championship team, most people have said they're going to be in the mix. I mean, not completely out of the question.
Yeah. And then the last question I got for you guys, it's more directed towards you. You were in Paris for the Champions League game. Just tell us a little bit about leaving the stadium. I know you told me it was a little crazy. So many people I don't even know how many people in that stadium.
90,000.
90,000.
Yeah.
Liverpool loses 1-0. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a great game. I mean, I think Liverpool dominated the first half, and then Real Madrid got the second half, and that's when they scored. But tell us a little bit about leaving that stadium.
Well, all the stories are about the tear gas that was put on Liverpool fans before the game. The game was delayed by 30 minutes, and in the stadium they were telling us it's because fans came late, and we didn't know any better. But obviously that was a lie. So there's tear gas because of fake tickets or whatever. My experience, I got there super early, like 3 hours before. I got in fine. After the game, they bottlenecked you into like one exit. The French police, there was no sign. Because 90% of the people went to that game were not from Paris. Like they were from England, they were from the U.S., they were from Spain if they were cheering for Real Madrid. No signage anywhere on where the nearest metro station was. No police telling you which way. You just kind of walked aimlessly out of the stadium because some of the subways were closed around that area for security reasons. We got on a train. We were hoarded on a train with like hundreds of people. Instead of going like the 6 stops to the central of Paris, because the stadium's on the outskirts, it stopped early. One announcement in French, which none of us understood, and then all of a sudden it's like you have to get off the train. Everyone was going one way, and I witnessed a mugging like right in front of me. This group of French kind of young thugs, which is kind of a gangs that they have there, ran up the stairs, a side stairwell, beat the crap out of some guy, ripped his wallet off and sprinted back down. And I was like, I had to go buy that to get out of the subway station. I'm spending like $100 on an Uber to get out of there. It was just like it was just not well organized. I've been to a lot of big events in my life. I've been to tons of Patriots games. I've been to in other stadiums. Never been to a final like that. And look, you're seeing an inquest now. And the French government is blaming the Liverpool fans, the police department, the UEFA, the parent companies blaming the Liverpool fans. Liverpool's fighting back and saying our people were there 2.5 hours before, and you were tear gassing them because you were completely unorganized. And there's a lot of the locals that were trying to sneak into the game. So disappointing game. I had a really good time in Paris. It was a cool city. I don't think I'll go back anytime soon. Tough loss for Liverpool, but hey, they won 2 trophies, and out of 64 games, they only lost 4 games all year. Tough to argue with that. So,
all right, we'll finish up this episode with pick the winners. This is week 7. Last week, Josh stepped in for you, and he didn't do too good. He went 1-3.
Good.
Cole went 0-4, and I went 2-2. It's not a good week because I think we all picked Liverpool because we didn't want to leave the podcast.
That. Yeah.
And then we all picked the Celtics to win in Game 6, so that was a loss for all of us.
I would have picked that too. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right, we'll finish up with 5 games. We'll start it off. Game 1 tonight: Warriors and Celtics.
Warriors.
I'm going Warriors too. As much as I want to win this pick.
I hope the refs. By the way, one last thing. I hope the refs are not a factor this series because the Celtics whine.
No, I hope.
A lot, and Draymond kind of whines too.
Yeah.
So
I hope it's some ref that nobody's ever heard of. So you can't say, Scott Foster.
Yeah.
All right, Game 2: the Edmonton Oilers at the Colorado Avalanche. I don't know if you saw Game 1.
This is insane.
14 goals.
Yeah. These hockey series are insane.
Wasn't it 8-6?
It was 8-6.
And then the Rangers game was like 6-2 last night, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Oilers fight back here and win Game 2.
All right.
Colorado.
Yeah, I'm going Colorado as well.
What are you gonna do with McKinnon versus the Rangers? It's gonna be a tough one in the Taranko household.
I know, right? All right, Game 2, Lightning at the Rangers, which is I think that's tomorrow.
Lightning, 100%.
Yeah, Lightning.
Really, I'm going Rangers.
Ooh, you think they're a team of destiny?
Because the Rangers are at home.
Yeah,
and that's how much.
Lightning, though.
It
That's it, though. I mean, the Lightning are a championship team. They win that game.
Yep. All right, and then we have Celtics at Warriors Game 2. This is on Sunday. It's on Sunday.
Give me Golden State.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going
2-0
Celtics.
lead, baby.
Celtics. Nope. And then this one just for fun, for random game. I picked this for tomorrow. Mets at the Dodgers, and we'll go. You can put triple points on it if you want.
Triple points on the Dodgers.
Oh, really?
I need to go big or go home at this point.
Dodgers. No triple points, but
All right.
I couldn't even name the starters for either of those teams.
I'm gonna take the Mets with 2 points, 2 extra points. See if I can get that one. All right, that's gonna do it for episode 26. We will see you all next week. I think this might be our last week.
Season finale next week.
Yep, episode 27. But we'll definitely bring this back next year as well. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.